Hello, Adrienne Gibson here from Just Kieran Astrology. I'm here to give a brief little report about today's, later tonight, earlier this next morning's full moon and lunar eclipse coming from the sign of Virgo. So, yeah, the energies are really intense, and it's been an interesting journey writing and contemplating what all the energies are. Um, and I will put a link below for access to my moon report on Substack. But anyway, let me pull up the chart so we can start to talk about this and get an idea of there. This is the chart, and yeah, it's crazy times. So we had, if you had listened to my previous report, we had a whole bunch of planets in the sign of Pisces. Now more planets into the sign of Aries. And as of tomorrow, Mercury will also join Venus in a retrograde motion. So I want to start talking about this South Node and Moon conjunction. By the way, this is what makes an eclipse. It happens in the spring and in the fall near the equinoxes when it's equal days and equal nights, and the moon and the sun line up with the ecliptic. And so then we'll have an eclipse, a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse, both in the spring and the fall. This is our spring lunar eclipse happening. Say a little bit more. Full moons are lunar eclipses, new moons are solar eclipses. So a lunar eclipse, therefore, is like, because it's a full moon, it's the completion of the new moon, but it's also, because it's linking to the nodes, the completion of a nodal cycle. And it's interesting, I've been contemplating it, and the way that I see it, we are completing two nodal cycles. One that began the last time 19 years ago that the nodes were in Aries and Libra, and then the most recent Aries and Libra nodal energy, which have since the first of the year moved into Pisces and Virgo. So what do I want to say about it? First of all, the moon conjunct the south node. This is a closing phase because the nodes move backwards. The moon is moving toward the south node, and the south node is moving towards the moon, where they will eventually make an exact conjunction and a new cycle developing of our inner sense of self. So the first thing I want to talk about is the energies of Virgo and Pisces and how they relate to each other and how it is in this cycle that we've really been working through for a very long period of time. The past nodal energy in Aries and Libras relates to it in a way, and I'll try to get into it. So Virgo and Pisces. Pisces is the whole. It is the entirety of manifestation and unmanifestation, not manifested. It is I like to think of it as the pool of energy from which everything comes and everything must go back into. And because energy can't be created or destroyed, things must dissolve before something new can come out of that energy. And this is the energy of Pisces, and this is why for the last few weeks I've been talking about this is the end of a very big cycle. And it's the end of many cycles, talking about the end of 12,000 year cycle, I've heard, and also more so just the end of the Piscean age, and the end of these nodal cycles, as I've said. So with Pisces being the whole, the opposing is when we separate all its parts. And so these would be the details in Virgo. When we separate out the parts and we look at the details. In looking at the details, there is this energy that is created of a hierarchy of things. I just want to say that it's very similar to looking at the trees through the forest. We look at the trees, there are many different kinds of trees. The trees are in varying degrees of age. You know, there's all kinds of details that we can look at. And Virgo is also is ruled by Mercury, as is Gemini. Virgo's the part where we really discern the information that's taken in through Gemini. And so in the discerning process, we discern what is better and what is worst, or what is, higher or lower, or this whole range of discernment. I like to say, like, the rainbow are all the colors, but my favorite color is purple. So that would be like a discernment of from the whole. And this goes in with the trees and the forests, etc. The problem is when we take in Mercury, the energy of Mercury, as what we can see in our immediate environment, and we start to take this in for the purpose of understanding, and we discern that some things are more important than other things, then we start to look at the world and perceive the world through the energy of separation, the parts, in other words. And while looking at the parts and at the whole is beneficial, and I think that that's what this nodal journey is for the next year and a half, is trying to integrate the parts and the whole, because we have been in a cycle of looking at the parts. We see everything from just part of the picture. And that has led to all kinds of different things. One of the things that I've talked about is this energy of hierarchy. Some things are better than others. Some things are worse than others. This inferiority, superiority. And when we're talking about the moon cycle, we're talking about feelings. We're talking about the emotional state. And so the moon cycles, both the past sense of self, which would be the south node, and the current sense of self, the energy is looking at from a place of separation. And in that place, we are either going to appear as superior or inferior. This is the cycle that's closing. When what we're going to be integrating is all of these planets that are in Pisces. And so the energy, the emotional energy of Pisces is the energy of like inclusion, the energy of compassion and understanding and universal love, acceptance, like things are the way they are. So this moon cycle, which by the way, these eclipses put the energy in like overdrive. It's very intense energy to end this cycle, and then we'll have another intense energy cycle begin in 2 weeks with the solar eclipse. So a very intense energy to end a cycle. We're all being pushed to end this cycle, and so that we can begin the next. And the cycle that we are ending is this Aries and Libra cycle. The Aries and Libra cycle ended, like I said, at the very beginning of the year. We switched into Pisces and Virgo, closing off the Aries and Libra. And what that was about is the difference between self and other. Whereas in this energy of separation, in order to get along, we have deferred to other people, the groups. In relationships to others, we have deferred. We've had to stand down to prevent conflict, as it were. And so that's the cycle that's ending through Aries and Libra. As the nodes were in Aries and Libra, North Node was in Aries, we've been working toward healing this part of ourselves that is important, and we need to not stand down when in relation to another person, that we are Libra equals. But when we're dealing with Libra, we're very often dealing with the extremes. And so we can be dealing with codependency and just feeling like we're not getting our needs met when we're in relationship to others. And so this has started to change over the last year and a half. New relationships have begun, older relationships have ended, and the relationships are more built on a sense of equality. So this is the energy of this South Node and Moon. The North Node and the Sun is about self-actualizing this Piscean energy, Sun in Pisces. And to self-actualize, which means to really come from the heart, a very creative energy of coming from the heart. And like I said, the words that I like to use for Pisces is this inclusive language that would be like acceptance, forgiveness, universal love. The North Node is also they're in a closing phase, coming together. And this is where we're going to be self-actualizing this Piscean energy as part of our future sense of self. So that's what's coming. We are integrating from this place of separation into this place of oneness. So the nodes from the Aries and Libra were ruled by Mars and Venus. And I found it interesting that as we move into this cycle, we've had both of the ruling planets of the previous nodes move into a retrograde motion. And I feel like this is this energy to like integrate and grow through these energies. So like making it part of us, part of ourselves, really accelerating those energies. And so Mars was retrograde in Cancer. We have accelerated our abilities to feel from the inside. And Venus is retrograde currently. It's been retrograde since the 1st, I believe, and just after the new moon. And it will continue to stay retrograde until after the solar eclipse, I believe, on the 7th of April. Why do I think that this Venus is still retrograde? I think because while we were also closing out this old cycle and really need to accelerate and internalize our value structure, a new value structure, that this new cycle is really going to be continuing to look at our value structure. So I think that as this new cycle that we're coming into, we'll be looking at the new values. So the next thing I want to talk about are our new nodes and the rulers of those new nodes. The rulers of the new nodes are Mercury and Neptune. And they are currently conjunct, or almost, they will be quite conjunct, where it's interesting. We'll be starting this is a new phase conjunction. Mercury has to retrograde a little bit more to actually be in this conjunction, but it's definitely in a new phase cycle. Both of these symbols, these signs, planets have to do with consciousness. Mercury is the symbol of the Roman numeral 2. I'll just draw my cursor around that Mercury. Jupiter is currently in Mercury, and that's important for this time. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Mercury, like I said, is this energy of what is salient to us, this what is around us, what we can perceive through our left mind, our left brain. Our left brain is this brain of order, what we see, the logical brain. But Mercury has two vertical lines. There's that side, and then there's the other side, the seen and the unseen. That unseen is unperceived by Mercury. Jupiter perceives that other side. Jupiter is the imaginative and intuitive. It comes from a different place. And I feel like Neptune is like the whole mind. It's like total awareness. And we can't experience total awareness in this realm. It's like it would be a mental overload. So Mercury, our human brains, take in what is here to perceive. And the other side is through the right brain. That the more spiritual, the more imaginative parts of our thought processes, intuitive. And so both sides of the brain, the left and the right side, would be whole in Pisces, Neptune. So I feel like these energies right now are about the expansion of consciousness. I think that's what the Jupiter in Mercury in Gemini is about. We are expanding our consciousness, and many people are becoming more in tuned with this unseen world. The unseen world works through symbols and synchronicities, and these things are becoming more readily available for people to take in. In our left brain world, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. That's how science works. And yet there is a reality that many people are connected with that you can't measure. And so I feel like what's happening in this nodal opposition here between Virgo and Pisces is this inclusion, this discernment of what the reality is, to include more of this intuitive nature, this intuitive side of us. And I feel like through this energy, we'll have a very big shift in consciousness. And through this shift of consciousness, we will begin to have the words that I have given about the energy of Pisces, which is compassion and acceptance and forgiveness and universal love. Respect for the whole is how I like to look at it. The nature, the trees, the water, it's all connected. We're all into one cycle. We're all related through our Piscean nature. And so very shortly, Neptune will move into Aries, and we'll be beginning a whole brand new cycle of aligning this spiritual nature so that we can explore what it means. What else do I want to say about these? Yeah, this is what I see happening. And like I said, I will post in the comment section a link to my moon report on Substack where you can look at the details. So thank you for listening, and I hope this was enjoyable and informative for you. See you next time.